You know, as the years go by, our bodies begin to speak to us in ways they never used to. Sometimes it's a quiet stiffness in the morning. Sometimes it's that little ache behind the knee when we stand up. And sometimes it's a deep, familiar pain that seems to follow us through the day like a shadow we never invited. If you've ever paused for a moment and thought, why do my joints feel so different now? Why do my knees ache more than they used to? Or is this the beginning of something serious? Then you're not alone. Not by a long shot. For millions of older adults, these changes aren't random. They are signs, messages, warnings that the joints are aging, whether through wear and tear, loss of joint fluid, bone thinning, or simply years of moving in ways our bodies weren't built for. And here's the most important part. Your body always gives clues before things get worse if you know how to listen. So today, I want to take you by the hand, gently and clearly, the way I've done with thousands of patients over my 3 decades as a doctor, and help you understand what those clues actually mean. Whether your concern is, am I experiencing early joint degeneration? Hey, why do my knees hurt more as I get older? This conversation may change the way you understand your own body. Stay with me for the next few minutes. This might be one of the most important talks you have with yourself and with your knees this year. 5. Early signs of osteoarthritis in older adults. As I sit here today, looking straight into this camera, I'm thinking about how many stories our bodies carry at 60 years old. After spending more than 3 decades working with patients over 50, I've learned that aging isn't just a medical process. It's emotional. It's personal. It's a conversation between you and your body, a conversation that grows louder as the years go by. And today, I want to talk to you about something that whispers before it ever shouts. Something so many older adults ignore until the pain becomes a constant companion. Osteoarthritis, joint degeneration, the slow, quiet thinning of the cartilage that once let you move through the world with ease. But I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to help you understand the early signs, the messages your joints are trying to send, so you can take action before things get worse. So let's take this time together, just you and me. Let's talk, honestly, gently, and with the kind of compassion I'd give to any of my patients sitting right here in my office. 1. The stiffness that greets you in the morning. Let me ask you this. When you wake up in the morning, do your joints feel like they've been holding their breath all night? Do you sit at the edge of your bed, waiting for your knees or hips to wake up, almost like old friends who need a moment to stretch before they start? The day I hear this all the time, a patient of mine, her name was Linda, 72 years old, once told me, "Doc, I feel like my knees turn to stone overnight, and I'm chiseling them loose every morning." We both laughed, but she wasn't joking. That morning stiffness, usually lasting around 10 to 30 minutes, is often one of the earliest signs of osteoarthritis. It's your joints saying, something's changing, something's wearing down. It doesn't start with pain. It starts with hesitation, a subtle pause before movement. The science behind it is simple. When cartilage begins to thin, the joint space narrows overnight. When you're not moving, the fluid that normally lubricates your joints doesn't circulate as well. So when you wake up, it takes a little warm-up time for your joints to glide again. And maybe you've noticed this too, that the stiffness eases once you get moving. Once blood flow picks up, if that sounds familiar. I want you to know you're not alone. You're not just getting old. Your joints are giving you information, and I want you to listen. 2. Pain that shows up when you move or after now. Let's talk about pain, the second messenger. But this pain is sneaky. It doesn't always hit you like an injury or sharp ache. Instead, it shows up gradually, quietly, like a shadow that grows longer over time. Maybe you feel it when you stand up after sitting for a while. Maybe you feel it halfway through your afternoon walk. Even though that same route felt easy 5 years ago, maybe it's your hips or your knees or the base of your thumb, a joint people often forget can also develop osteoarthritis. I once had a patient named Robert, a retired firefighter, strong as an oak tree. At 78, he walked into my office with a slow limp. I asked him what happened. He shrugged and said, "Doc, nothing happened. Something just feels different." And that's exactly how osteoarthritis pain begins. Not with trauma, not with an accident, but with difference. He told me that after mowing his lawn, something he'd done for decades, his knees started aching in a way they never had before. Not unbearable, just persistent, just enough to make him pause. I want you to think about yourself for a moment. Has a movement you used to do, easily climbing stairs, getting into the car, going for a walk, started to feel heavier? Has your joint pain shown up more after activity or later in the day? That's the pattern of osteoarthritis. Pain with use, relief with rest. But here's the part most people don't realize. When the cartilage wears down, the bone underneath becomes more exposed, and tiny nerves in that bone start sending pain signals that your brain interprets as something's wrong. The good news? Understanding this early can change everything, because this is the stage where lifestyle, exercise, and diet can still make a huge difference. 3. The sounds: clicking, cracking, grinding. Now this part surprises people. You ever stand up, walk across the room, and hear your knee make a sound that wasn't there 20 years ago, and a little click, a pop, maybe even a soft grinding noise? A lot of older adults tell me the same thing: "Doc, my joints are talking to me." And I always respond with a smile. Then let's listen. These sounds, what we call crepitus, often show up when cartilage becomes uneven. Imagine two smooth stones sliding against each other. Now imagine one of those stones getting scratched or worn in the middle. Suddenly, they don't glide the same way. They rub, they catch, they speak. Not all joint sounds mean trouble. Some are harmless. But here's when you should pay attention: when the sound is new, when it's consistent, or when it's accompanied by pain or stiffness. I had a patient named George, 81 years old, who told me he could hear his knee walking before he felt it. He described a faint grinding sound whenever he climbed steps. Sure enough, an X-ray showed classic early osteoarthritis. He wasn't alarmed. He was relieved to understand what his body had been hinting at. And that's how I want you to feel. Not frightened, not overwhelmed, just informed. Your body is communicating. Let's give those messages meaning. 4. The subtle swelling and warmth. Another early sign is swelling, but I'm not talking about the kind of swelling you'd get from twisting an ankle. No. This swelling is slow, gentle, almost invisible unless you're really paying attention. Sometimes the joint feels a little puffy. Sometimes it looks slightly rounder than the same joint on the other side. Sometimes it feels warm, as if a quiet inflammation is living just beneath the skin. One of my longtime patients, Margaret, 67 years old, former school teacher, came in one afternoon holding her left hand gently with her right. She said, "Doc, my knuckle looks bigger, but it doesn't really hurt. Should I worry that subtle swelling that was osteoarthritis beginning to reshape the joint?" See, as cartilage wears down, the body tries to fix itself, sometimes forming tiny bone spurs or increasing fluid in the joint. The result is a slow, gradual swelling that many people overlook for months, even years. I want you to do something later today, a simple experiment. Hold your hands out in front of you. Look at the knuckles, the joints at the base of your fingers, your thumbs. Notice any swelling you never noticed before. Maybe a slight bump, maybe a joint that looks different than its partner. If yes, don't panic. It doesn't mean you're falling apart. It simply means your body is asking for attention, and you deserve to give it. 5. Reduced range of motion, the loss of freedom. This is the sign that touches people the most emotionally, because it's not just about pain or stiffness. It's about freedom. Freedom to reach up, freedom to bend down, freedom to turn, twist, walk, lift, live. Over time, osteoarthritis can make certain movements smaller. Maybe you can't bend your knee all the way like you used to. Maybe your shoulder doesn't rotate like before. Maybe your hip feels locked when you try to tie your shoes. I had a patient, a gentleman named Thomas, 76, who came to me one day with tears in his eyes. He said, "Doc, I can't kneel down to play with my grandkids anymore. My body doesn't let me." And that broke my heart. Because osteoarthritis isn't just a condition of the joints, it's a condition of the life around those joints. It affects the moments that matter: grandchildren, gardens, hobbies, independence, morning walks, Sunday church, dancing, cooking, everything. But I told Thomas what I want to tell you now. Losing range of motion isn't the end, it's a beginning, a signal, a turning point, a moment to take back control. With the right exercises, the right habits, the right care, we can preserve movement, reduce pain, and protect the life you want to keep living. You're not powerless. Far from it. A gentle closing message from one aging human to another. Before we end this time together, I want to say something personal. Aging is not a failure. Decline is not defeat. Your body is not your enemy. Your joints are simply telling the story of your life, the miles you've walked, the work you've done, the years you've lived, the love you've given. These early signs of osteoarthritis, stiffness, pain, the sounds, the swelling, the loss of motion. They're not warnings of doom. They're invitations. Invitations to care for yourself more deeply, to listen more closely, to participate in your own healing. I want you to ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me today? And then I want you to honor that message. If anything you heard today feels familiar, even a little bit, don't ignore it. Talk to your doctor. Start moving gently every day. Strengthen the muscles that support your joints. Nourish your body. Stay curious about your health. Your life isn't slowing down. It's simply evolving, and you get to evolve with it. And now we will move on to the next section, which is why do older adults often have knee pain. You know, as I sit here today, looking into this camera the same way I've looked into the eyes of thousands of patients over the years, I'm reminded of something simple yet profound. Our knees tell the story of our lives. Every step we've taken, every hill we've climbed, every moment we've knelt, bent, lifted, danced, or simply carried the weight of our days, our knees have carried us through it all. And for many older adults, maybe even you, sitting there watching those knees have started to speak louder, sometimes through stiffness, sometimes through swelling, sometimes through a deep, nagging ache that seems to appear out of nowhere. Today, I want to talk to you gently, honestly, like a friend, like a doctor who has walked alongside people just like you for more than 30 years. Why do older adults often experience knee pain? What is your body trying to tell you? And how can understanding the real reasons help you take control again? Let's take a quiet moment together. Breathe. And let's explore this not in a scientific lecture, not in a rushed clinical explanation, but in the way two humans talk when they truly want to understand something meaningful. 1. The slow story of joint wear, osteoarthritis. Let me begin with the most common reason, one that appears in my clinic almost every single day. Osteoarthritis. The slow, gradual wearing down of the cartilage that once cushioned your knees like soft, silent pillows. You see, cartilage doesn't scream when it begins to thin. It whispers, it nudges, it asks quietly. Have you noticed the stiffness in the morning, the ache after your walk, that sharp little pain when you stand up from a chair? I remember a patient named Eleanor, 74 years old, graceful, always smiling. She came to me one afternoon and said, "Doc, I feel like something in my knees is fading, as if the smoothness has left." And she was right. Her cartilage was wearing down, not because she did something wrong, but because she had lived, beautifully and fully, for decades. I want you to picture something. Imagine two smooth stones rubbing gently against each other. Now imagine the surface beginning to thin, slowly, over the years. What was once effortless now becomes slightly rough, slightly uneven. That's osteoarthritis, not a sign of failure, a sign of use, a sign of a life lived with movement, responsibility, and purpose. If you've felt that deep, aching sensation that grows as the day goes on, if you've felt your knees complain after a long walk, if you've wondered why the pain seems to come and go, there's a good chance osteoarthritis is part of your story. And you know what? Understanding this early means you can take steps gentle, effective steps to slow it down. 2. When the knees run, dry loss of synovial fluid. Now, let's talk about something many people have never even heard of, yet it affects almost every older adult at some point. Synovial fluid, think of it as the oil of your joints, the silky liquid that allows your knees to glide smoothly with each movement. But here's the thing. As we age, the production of this fluid can decrease, and when it does, your knees begin to feel dry, almost scratchy, as if something isn't sliding like it used to. One patient of mine, Henry, once told me, "Doc, when I move, I feel like someone forgot to oil my hinges." I smiled, because that's exactly what it feels like for so many people over 60. Without enough synovial fluid, your knees may feel stiff. Movements can feel harder. You may hear pops or cracks. Pain increases during activity. I want you to imagine opening a door that hasn't been oiled in years. It creaks, it resists, sometimes it even groans. Your knees can behave the same way. But here's the hopeful part. Even though we can't turn back the clock, we can encourage better joint lubrication through movement, hydration, and proper nutrition. Your body still wants to help you sometimes, it just needs a little prompting. 3. The hidden culprit. Osteoporosis and weakening bones. Now let's move to something that doesn't get enough attention. Osteoporosis. People often think it only affects the spine or the hips, but the truth is, weakened bones can affect the knees too. When the bones around your knee joint lose density, they stop supporting your cartilage as well as they used to. Every step becomes a little heavier. Every staircase feels a little more challenging. I once treated a man named Charles Thin, quiet, gentle spirit. He looked at me one day and said, "I don't understand. Doc, my joints hurt, but I don't think it's the joints." And he was right. His cartilage was fine. The problem was the bone underneath small areas of thinning, tiny cracks forming without him even knowing. Imagine building a house. Even if the walls look perfect, if the foundation weakens, everything above begins to struggle. Your knees work the same way. If you've noticed that your knee pain feels deep, almost like it's inside the bone, osteoporosis may be part of the story. And again, this isn't a failure. It's a natural part of the aging process when bones aren't nourished or stimulated enough. The key is understanding the root cause, because when you understand, you can protect yourself. 4. Movement that wasn't meant for the body. Misalignment and wrong posture. This part might surprise you. Not all knee pain comes from aging. Some of it comes from the way we move, patterns we've been using unconsciously for years. Maybe your feet turn outward when you walk. Maybe you've been bending your knees incorrectly when lifting. Maybe your hips or lower back are stiff, forcing your knees to compensate. The body is a clever machine. When one part is weak or tight, another part works harder to keep you moving. But over time, compensation becomes strain becomes irritation, and irritation becomes pain. I once watched an 82-year-old patient, Ruth, walk across the hallway. Beautiful woman, bright spirit. But she had this tiny inward collapse of her knees each step. She had no idea. She just thought she was walking like an old lady. But that little collapse, it overloaded her knees for more than 20 years. And now her knees were asking for help. Sometimes knee pain isn't just about the knees. It's about the hips, the feet, the spine, the habits, the years of carrying children, climbing ladders, pushing grocery carts, working long hours. Your knees are part of a system, and when the system falls out of balance, they suffer first. Ask yourself, have I noticed my posture changing? Do I walk differently than I used to? Do my knees feel misaligned or unstable? If the answer is yes, you're not alone. This is incredibly common and incredibly fixable. 5. The accumulated weight of life, extra pressure on the knees. Now I want to touch on something sensitive, but I want to talk about it gently, with honesty and respect. Extra body weight. Even just 10 extra pounds can add 30 to 40 pounds of pressure on your knees with every step. Now imagine walking across the room. Imagine climbing stairs. Imagine standing up and sitting down. Your knees feel all of it, multiplied. This isn't about blame. This isn't about shame. This is about compassion for yourself, for your journey. For the years where life was too busy, too stressful, too overwhelming to think about weight. I tell my patients this all the time. You don't have to lose 50 pounds. Sometimes 5 pounds makes a difference. Sometimes 10 pounds changes everything. And it's true. Because every pound you shed is like taking a brick out of your backpack, a backpack your knees have been carrying for years. Your knees don't need perfection. They need relief. A moment of reflection from one aging soul to another. Before we close today, I want to return to something I said at the beginning. Your knees tell the story of your life. They've carried you through heartbreak, joy, work, family, responsibilities, dreams, disappointments, victories. Your knee pain isn't a sign that you're falling apart. It's a sign that you've lived fully, imperfectly, beautifully. But pain is also a message, a request, a whisper from your body saying, "Take care of me. I've carried you this far, and I want to carry you farther." If anything I've shared today feels familiar even a little, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're human. You're aging. And your body is asking for understanding, not judgment. So listen. Pay attention to the stiffness, the swelling, the ache, the sounds, the fatigue. They are clues, not curses, and with the right steps, the right knowledge, the right habits, you can move with less pain, more freedom, and more confidence. As we get older, every ache, every stiff movement, every twinge in the knee is the body trying to tell us something, whether it's the early signs of joint degeneration or the constant knee pain many seniors experience. One truth remains: your joints can still stay strong, flexible, and dependable if you care for them the right way. Starting today. If today's video helped you understand your body a little better, or reminded you to look after the health of someone you love, then I truly hope you'll give this video a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue bringing you valuable, life-changing health content. Thank you for watching until the end. Take care of your knees, take care of your joints, because every strong step you take is an investment in your future.